Please note that other than the confirmed pictures of the Carrolls in the following, any additional photos are characterizations to represent the person of interest and are not the actual subject. This sad but true story begins at the home of Dr. Walter John Carroll, a much respected figure in the town of Hill End. With 2 young children and the irregular hours that Dr. Carroll was required to work, his wife Mary was afforded the luxury of at least 2 servants to help with the day-to-day domestic duties. The first of these was a young man by the name of William James Dive. Dive, at the age of just 17, was employed by the Carrolls to perform general duties around the home, as well as often babysitting the 2 young children. Grace, who was about 4 or 5 years old at the time, 1872, and baby Walter Jr., who had just been born the year before, in 1871. The second servant under the employment of Dr. Carroll was a 21-year-old woman named Mrs. Margaret Wilson, née King. Margaret was married to a fellow named James. Margaret and James were married in Sydney just 1 year before, in 1871. But it appears that this marriage was not a match made in heaven, because just 1 year later, they were both living apart. On the 24th of October 1872, Margaret's mother in Sydney received this letter from her daughter.
My dear mother, I have tried to forget my trouble, but in vain. I get down more every day. I would like to die. My dear mother, do not fret about me. I have made up my mind to shoot myself. I have done my best to get my husband to do right, but you know that he would not, and he has broken my heart. I never can live and bear it any longer. My dear mother, do not think of me. I cannot bear to write any more, so goodbye. God bless you all. Loving child, Margaret King, October 24th, 1872.
Margaret was aware that Dr. Carroll had kept a revolver which she could have obtained and which was usually loaded. Just 6 days after she had sent the letter to her mother, Margaret's sister, also in Sydney, received this letter from her sibling, dated October the 30th, 1872.
My dear sister, I was so glad when I got your letter tonight, as I have been so downhearted, and your letter has made me feel happy again, for a kind word from a dear sister seems to have softened the dreadful pain. I am glad that Robert and the dear little children are all well, and I hope, dear sister, that you will get over your troubles all right. I would very much like to come to Sydney, but I must wait a while before I think about that. I have made up my mind not to take a house, as I think I would be very lonely. The Oddfellows are going to have a picnic. The doctor and Mrs. are both going, and I shall have to be nurse tomorrow. I was asked to go to a ball, but cannot go as I have not got a dress. I would like to go very much. My dear sister, can tell you no more news, as I am very tired. I have been ironing all day, so I say good night. With best love to all, believe me to be your affectionate sister, Margaret King. October the 30th, 1872.
While there wasn't any hint of the thought of suicide in this letter, the cracks were beginning to appear in Margaret's seemingly miserable life. The following is a description of what occurred on Thursday, the 31st of October, 1872. William Dive was babysitting the Carroll baby, presumably Walter Jr., outside the Carroll home at about 6 p.m. He noted Margaret working in the kitchen as usual. Nothing seemed untoward at the time. Dive then noticed Margaret turn from the kitchen, which adjoins the main house. From there, she entered her bedroom. After a brief moment, she came out again and staggered against the doorpost. At that time, William was only a few meters away and said,
"Mrs. Wilson, what's the matter?"
Margaret replied that nothing was wrong and returned to her room and laid down on her bed. It was then she called out to William.
William, can you please come in here?
Finding her lying on the bed, Margaret then said,
Give me your hand. I have poisoned myself. I've drunk a bottle of chloroform. Comfort my people at home as well as you can.
The neighbouring building to the Carrolls was the Cahill Soda Water Factory, and one of its employees was a man named George Higginson. It may be possible that Margaret had befriended George because it was he who she wanted William to tell what she had done, and further, for him to quickly come at once. William hurriedly ran for George. He didn't immediately want to shock him, so he didn't inform him of what had just taken place. But when George hesitated, William had no option than to tell him.
George, you must come now. Margaret has poisoned herself.
Upon their arrival back in the bedroom, they found that Margaret had moved from her bed and was now lying on the floor, barely able to speak. William then left the baby with another person and immediately ran into town to locate Dr. Carroll. Upon locating him, this time, William had no hesitations explaining what had happened. Dr. Carroll immediately mounted his horse and galloped toward his home. Arriving home, he found Margaret lying on the veranda near her bedroom door. Dr. Carroll then located the partially emptied bottle and established that she had swallowed about 2 ounces, 59 mils, or about a quarter of a cup, of lethal chloroform. After employing the usual remedies, Dr. Carroll once again called for Dr. O'Connell to assist him, namely in the application of a stomach pump.
Will she be all right?
The following day, Margaret continued to improve to the point where she had actually got herself out of her bed. But when Dr. Carroll's wife Mary had discovered this, she immediately insisted and assisted her in returning her back again.
Come on, dear. Back to bed. You must get your rest.
Upon his arrival, Dr. Carroll had noticed that Margaret was rapidly deteriorating. He asked of her,
Margaret, my dear, why, oh why, have you done this dreadful act?
She sorrowfully replied,
Oh, sir, please don't blame me. I'm broken-hearted.
"30 minutes later, Margaret Wilson, née King, finally succeeded with finding her peace. She died on Friday the 1st of November, 1872. She was later buried in a pauper's grave in Tambaroora Cemetery in what is now an unmarked grave. She was just 21 years old. All the dialogue from this previous event was transcribed from the coroner's inquest into the death of Mrs. Margaret Wilson, directly from the evidence submitted by William Dive and Dr. Walter Carroll. It was not fictionally scripted. Finding her lying on the bed, Margaret then said,
Give me your hand. I have poisoned myself. I've drunk a bottle of chloroform. Comfort my people at home as well as you can.
Margaret, my dear, why, oh why, have you done this dreadful act?
She sorrowfully replied,
Oh, sir, please don't blame me. I'm broken-hearted.
Now may you finally rest in peace.
Thanks for watching. And if you think you may need support, please contact Lifeline on 131114. Please stay tuned for episode 4 in The Colour Within, Dr. Walter Carroll.